I want to talk about today about pretty much joking around, sense of humor, comedy, and pretty much being cancel culture and being kind of like unfiltered. My opinion. Well, I mean, we all know recently with Dave Chappelle and him saying that every this cancel culture is just really bad for stand-up comedy and humor in general. Um, yeah, what I personally think. I mean, I am personally the way I see it, I've always been a comedian, a guy that um, makes people laugh, roasts. I like roasting people. I like people roasting me, and that's just how I've always kind of, especially in the Hispanic culture, even in the Black culture, that's how we kind of bond. More than whites and Asians. Whites and Asians don't really roast each other that much. Um, yeah, especially like yeah, just in general. I mean, they do joke around with each other and roast each other, but I think blacks do it the most, and then I think Hispanics follow very closely because Hispanics roast each other a lot as well. That's just a pair bonding experience. We joke around and we tear down each other, but jokingly, and we just give it back and back, but being funny while we're doing it. But yeah, like I said, I think blacks are the best at it, personally. Um, so this and so I don't know. So I know it's as a minority, you think it's you kind of want to protect comedy because you don't want to start saying bad. You don't want to start slurring racial slurs because you don't want racial slurs against Hispanics or blacks or Asians. I know, I get it. I get it. We don't want to make it a whole laugh at the chink or laugh at the spick, all that, like the 40s or whatever, and all that. I get it, but this is how I see it. It's like a graph. I actually maybe should have made this video a graph, but the more fucked up something, the more fucked up something can be, the more funny it has to be. It's like a linear graph, and you have some asymptotes, right? In case it's like joking about someone's death, um, it better be extremely funny. Like the 911 joke by Gilbert Gottfried was really funny. I saw it. I forgot what it was, but it was very funny. And yes, it was too soon, but I mean, he did. He made it really funny. So that's comedy. Comedy is breaking boundaries. Comedy is you have to be clever for comedy. You can't just you can't just say like something like a slur and say you're funny. That's lazy. I mean, I remember one time someone called me a I think it was like a beaner or something like that, and some people were people were laughing. I mean, I wasn't laughing because not because I was offended, but it wasn't funny. It wasn't clever. It just said like, oh, clean the yard because you're a beaner. It wasn't new. It wasn't it was very unoriginal. Um, and that's the thing with comedy. You have to create something new, something clever. If you just say like a slur, I mean, if that crowd laughs at that, then usually it has to be clever. Like obvious, like this is how I see it. If if you're doing it from a place of malintent, bad intent, trying to bring down another group, it will come off. It will come off negative and bad, and people will be able to tell that it wasn't. You were more projecting your own insecurities than you were just trying to make people laugh. But if it's coming from a place of true humor, true like clever ability to create a joke about a race or a group, you can tell that he was legitimately saying something that was funny. Was it offensive? Sure, but it was worth it. It was funny, and it was worth the offense that perhaps he created. Because I've made jokes in group social situations, and I've been able to make like very conservative people, very just very people that don't try to be mean to other people. I made them even laugh at offensive stuff. Um, and why? Because I know where the tension is, and I look for it, and I joke around it. So I see the big elephant in the room, and then I joke about it. And then it's to the point where people are embarrassed to laugh, but they laugh anyways. They just can't help it. Like I said, I made very conservative, very nice, like none almost peak girls or guys laugh at a joke offensive to one of their friends. And they would say, "Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?" But that's because I am saying a truth that's in that joke. Because every joke is funny because there's a small hint of truth in that joke. If there's no hint of truth, then there's not gonna make people laugh. I'm saying this as a like, low-key comedian kind of guy. There has to be a hint of truth in a joke to make people laugh. And it has to be a bit of an elephant in the room that no one everyone's trying to like go around. They're not really trying to address. So I don't think, if whether it's browns or blacks or Asians, we try to, go for humor and try to go for slurs and try to limit in any way. I think that just doesn't work. That's really dumb these days. Back then, I think it would work because there was a bit of malintent with many white groups thinking they're above us, and it was more a little bit of malintent in their jokes, and a little bit of truth too. I mean, they really thought they were superior, and whether you think that's fine or not, which I think every group is tribal, so I think it's fine if you think you're better than others, but not like to a crazy degree, in a prideful way, like in your traditions, in your culture. I think that's good. But anyways, but I think trying to limit words or limit anything is dumb, because if you just stop limiting people, it's like a free market. Let it be a free market. If a guy is just saying slur after slur after slur, trust me, he's not going to get crowds. It's just, you have to be clever and original these days, because people these days don't have that mentality of being ultra racist in anyways, so they're a part of the free market these days, which will stop going to any comedian or anyone that says slurs of any sort. In general, they will slowly decrease their followers, or maybe they do get more followers, but they for the most part they won't, because these days you have to be clever. You can't just say slur and think you're funny. You have to be clever with stuff, and that's what the free market will. The free market of today's comedy is just addressing what people's perceptions are, people's mentalities are in the real world. In the real world, there's not many racists out there. There's not many. It's just a died culture of being ultra racist. Everyone's kind of like more open these days, so you don't need these kind of limiting stuff. I'm just going for stand-up comedy. I'm not going for like school pranks against other schools and putting a rope. That's kind of like that's other stuff. I'm not going to talk about that stuff, but I'm talking about just straight comedy, stand-up comedy, or even like sitcoms and stuff. So yeah, we have pretty much what I'm saying is the comedy has to be let go and not limited in any way. A good example I've seen of this is like Don Rickles. Don Rickles, I watched a lot of his old interviews, a lot of his old, I mean, like, on Johnny Carson and all that, and he makes fun of everyone. That's what I like to do. I like to make fun of everyone, from the WASP, from the black, the waspy white, the black, the Asian, the Filipino, the German and their accents, everyone, the poor, the rich, the uppity, the middle class. Like, I go everyone. That's my kind of comedy. That's the way I like to do it, because that's what he was doing back then. He was going after the Irish, the blacks, the Jews, the Italians. Like, he was going after every group, and so that's what I like to do. I say, instead of saying, "Oh, you can't be racist, you can't make jokes about this group, you can't be jokes about they're protected, you can make jokes about whites." I say make fun of everyone. That's my style. Make fun of everyone. Leave no one any mercy. And that's how I like to do it. I mean, if we see comedy, obviously there was a trend in the 90s where it was just constant making fun of white people. Like, black comedians were just constantly making fun of white people. And then after Louis C.K. kind of put that to a blow, and then Dave Chappelle, and then Louis C.K. kind of finished that, make fun of white people. He kind of was doing the whole. I think he was just doing the whole like well, obviously the middle-aged dad, but he was like saying, I think he had that stand-up bit where he's like, I'm white, and he said we, and then, I forgot the bit, but overall, like that kind of trend died off, and then it went towards that trend died off, and it went more, more that you couldn't just make fun of white people anymore. That just got boring, so you had to do other stuff after that. Obviously, jokes about different groups will always exist, but yeah, for comedy, for sitcoms, for movies, we have to stop saying don't make fun of gays, don't make fun of blacks, don't make fun of trans. That's just gonna make comedy even more funny wherever it is allowed, whether that's in your social groups, whether that's in small venues. Limiting it just does nothing to it, because comedy is always about breaking boundaries. It's always about being offensive. Comedy has never been about being safe. True comedy has always been about being offensive, not offensive, but saying small truths that are kind of offensive to people. And instead of discussing it, instead of making a big serious argument, we laugh about it and you cope with it. You cope with this little offensive thing in life, and that's how it should be. So unless they let comedy will always be the free market. Comedy will always be opposite of cancel culture, opposite of regulation. Comedy is like a free market. So obviously I make fun of my friends laugh, but a lot of the stuff I say, I would get banned. I would get canceled. I would lose my job. All these things if I said this in public with my friends, because the things I say are just like they're to the truth, but they're just I would get destroyed. And that's dumb, but it makes them laugh. I notice it's the funniest stuff they've heard, because that's what comedy. It's always been about breaking boundaries, and not repeating myself, but just my thoughts on cancel culture and comedy and all that.